Welcome to the Neutral Zone. I'm Joe Rexroad, Sports Columnist of the Tennessean. This is going to be a debate show of college football for the USA Today Network Tennessee. And today we have three topics. We're going to talk about Nick Saban and Maria Taylor. We're going to talk about turnover props. We're going to talk a little bit about Urban Meyer. Our guest today, and let's just get right into it, guys. Let's start with Nick Saban, Maria Taylor. It's a big thing. Nick Saban didn't want to tell anybody that, Jalen Hurts is obviously his backup quarterback. He was asked a fair open-ended question. He went off on Maria Taylor briefly. It's been a big story all week. Is it overblown? Adam.
Yeah, it's overblown a little bit. I mean, we've all been in these situations where, you got to ask the question and take the bullet. I mean, both of these were playing parts. Nick Saban played his part. Maria Taylor had her role. The question's got to be asked. He's got to answer it that way. He was trying to get a message across that wasn't directed at her. A lot is made of it. It shouldn't be. This is just kind of what we're in. She had to ask that question.
Jump in, Mike Wilson.
I agree.
Okay, Lewis. Yeah, go ahead. You got it.
I agree. I mean, they both parts, like Adam said, did what they had to do. I mean, Maria, as reporters, we all ask questions, and it was a pertinent question that she asked because everybody's thinking the same thing. Everybody around the country is thinking, is it going to be Tua? Is it going to be Jalen? But my favorite thing about the whole entire ordeal is kind of how Nick Saban's basically become a meme overnight again with I'm not going to, so quit asking. I think I saw with the Nike campaigns with the Just Do It and Nick Saban being part of that now. I think that's the funny part about all this. But he did, there were people who said and reported this that he did call Maria and apologize about the entire thing, how he went off after her. So, but I think, yeah, I agree with Adam. The entire situation has been overblown.
Someone tell me that it's not enough has been made of this, Blake Topmeyer.
Actually, I think it's more overblown even than the first two guys said because, I mean, Maria handled herself well. She was a pro. Nick Saban came off as a jerk. He comes off as a jerk all the time. I really don't see what was different about this between a normal Nick Saban press conference other than it was broadcast on national television, whereas usual press conferences aren't. I don't think there was anything really all that out of the ordinary about this. And the blowback from the media, I think, looks a little bit petty. The media doesn't like anyone to be mean to them sometimes when, I mean, it's part of the job. Sometimes you got to ask questions that people won't like. And I think Maria acknowledged that. But I thought the media lining up to, demand an apology from Nick Saban, I mean, that was just too much. I didn't like it.
Mike Wilson, your only hope.
I'm with what Blake said in the end there. The media loves Marriott points, Bruce Springsteen, and defending its own. And what you've seen the past 4 days is the media jumping on this, defending Maria Taylor, who asked a fair question. And realistically, Nick Saban, for the greater part of 9 months, has not said anything. So, of course, the questions are going to keep coming. They're going to die maybe now that he's officially put Tua as his guy. But, yeah, the media coming to defend its own is why this is overblown. It's 4 days later. This doesn't need to be talked about anymore.
Good points all. I will say, though, that the reason that people have gotten so upset is because of the way Nick has handled this entire thing, I think. Yes, you're right. People who aren't familiar with Nick Saban, as someone who covered him 20 years ago, he's like this all the time. Agree with that. But this was a different situation. This is for all to see with the sideline reporter. And the bottom line is he's been disingenuous about this entire thing. So the media pitchfork crowd on Twitter, I realize it gets overblown, but I think Nick needed to be called out on this. All right, let's go to turnover props. Yay or nay? Lewis.
I'm yay about it. I think it's a fun deal. I think it's for the fans and for the players. I mean, of course, last year, the turnover chain for Miami. You saw the Boise State with the turnover throne they have for the game of chaos. Louisville has something, even though they kind of weren't able to use it. I think it's for the honor Muhammad Ali and with the turnover belt and turnover gloves. But I'm for it. I don't know about you guys. I think it's a great deal for the game of college football. It's a little fun thing. I mean, I don't think anything bad can come from it. What do you guys think?
I don't like flashy clothing. I don't like exotic food, and I don't like turnover props. I think they're a stupid gimmick, just like the alternate jerseys are. But I can also see why they're happening because everything is about recruiting in college athletics anymore. So I think You know, they want this turnover throne that's now a thing at Boise State to be shown on television cameras. They want the turnover chain to be shown on camera. They want to impress high school kids thinking, oh, I want to sit on that throne and get a turnover. But I think it's stupid. I loved when LSU mocked the turnover chain after they were dominating Miami on Sunday night.
I think there's
Blake, there's some.
Go ahead.
Blake, there's some kids on your lawn you may want to shoo away there.
I'll have to go check that out.
The turnover chain, it has to be practical. The turnover chain is good. The turnover beads are fine. You can pick them up. You can move them around. The turnover throne is dumb because it's just sitting there. You can't hand it around. It's not practical. If you guys saw the video of when Boise State did that, I thought it was so dumb. Kind of how Blake is talking about, like the coaches got out of the way so the TV camera could get the full view during the game of the turnover throne. That's dumb. That's akin to, coaches going on College game day and tugging at the ear for a recruit or touching their nose. It's giving in to 18-year-old kids, which is the kids that I want to get off my lawn right now.
Somehow Mike Wilson keeps batting cleanup. Go for it, Mike.
Blake and I are a year apart in age, but about a million years in mentality. I think when these things are well done, which the turnover chain to me is, they're a lot of fun. I mean, when you think Miami football, you think kind of that swag of the 80s, and the turnover chain is trying to kind of, I think, bring that culture to Miami. Turnover thrown, stupid. Boise State doesn't have swag. They have a blue field. So when it's well done, I think it's good, but I can't believe this hasn't been mentioned yet, but the trash can at Tennessee last year. Prime example of when this goes wrong.
Yeah. Well, am I right that Memphis has a turnover robe? I believe I have that right. See, if that comes with a pipe, then I'm for this. But just the robe itself.
that matches Memphis though. That's fine. That matches Memphis. The throne doesn't match anything about Boise.
All right. Let's last thing, guys. Urban Meyer, very open-ended here. I just want to know. We're going to start with you, Mike Wilson. You can't always bat cleanup. I want to know how this is going to end for Urban Meyer and Ohio State.
What I'm more interested in here is how good Ohio State is without Urban Meyer. You take him out of this equation, this team's still winning games and blowing teams out. Is that going to continue the next two games? I think so. And to me, when I looked at this situation, I thought Urban Meyer was going to be gone because of this, because Ohio State can win games regardless of who that coach is, in my opinion, despite that Luke Fickell 2011 season. I think the 3-game suspension was kind of just a crock. I think the more evidence that comes out, the more we see, the more ridiculous this situation looks. But Ohio State should be bigger than this, and they didn't handle it that way at all to me.
So you're saying that he should be gone?
I thought he should be gone, yeah.
Okay.
The suspension was a farce. The press conference announcing the suspension was a farce. And what's unfortunate is, Ohio State's probably going to have a really good season, but what's unfortunate is that the person who becomes a footnote in all of this is Courtney Smith. I mean, as time goes on, I think we will remember her lesson, and she almost becomes a footnote to her own story. And to me, that's the real shame out of all of this.
The sad part about it.
Go ahead, Lewis.
I agree with what Blake and Mike have said. I mean, it's going to get uglier, in my opinion, when he comes back in 2 weeks, because this is not going to go away. I don't think it's going to go away. And I think it's just going to get uglier. And, I mean, Urban Meyer, I went to the University of Florida, and Urban Meyer he's kind of a name that's kind of taboo over there as well, because he had plenty of problems over there at Florida, where a number of arrests, there's stories out there, just what was going on under his watch, and what's going on in Ohio State is just even worse. And I just think it's going to get uglier when he comes back and more comes out in a couple weeks, I think.
Well, he hasn't been punished. I mean, if you saw the last couple of days, he comes back to practice. He can do that, but he's not. He still gets the weekend off. It's like the kid in high school that gets the suspended. You get to go home and be sleep till 10 a.m. and breakfast in bed. Don't have to do homework. He's not being punished. He's just taking 3 weekends off, and that's it. I mean, this is the reason he's still there is because he's an elite coach. And it's the same rule with players. These coaches don't kick kids off if they're elite players. If they screw up and they're a bad player, then suddenly there's discipline in the program. So it's the coach is being treated just like the players are. Now they're not in the same position, because Joe would tell you that all these players need to be paid like the coaches, which is completely wrong. But that's for show number 2.
Thank you. I was struggling for topics next week. Good idea. Blake, great point on Courtney Smith. I don't think that can be stated enough. And frankly, guys, I'm with Brett McMurphy. He said he does not believe that Urban Meyer will be the coach in 2019. I think there's a long way to go. I think there's a lot more to come out of this, and I'm gonna latch onto that. I don't think he will be either. Now, look, there's a very complex scoring system that we don't reveal to you. And you're going to accuse me of Nashville bias, and I know that Adam Sparks is countrier than a hit possum, as so I've heard on Twitter.
Yeah.
You win today. Mike Wilson, you came in last. Thanks for playing, guys. Next week.